The fact that I beat this entire video game and did not get one appearance of naked in underwear Peter Parker Spider-Man, throw the whole game away. Canceled. And welcome to my Safe Gayven, everybody. Thank you guys so much for clicking on another video and joining me here on the Black Gay Comic Geek channel. If this is your first time checking out my channel, first and foremost, thank you so much for clicking on this video. Let me introduce myself. My name is Michael. I call myself the Black Gay Comic Geek, and I always say the things that I love to talk about on my channel has blood, sex, gore, and magic, or any combination of the four. So I like to talk superheroes, video games, comic books, just a bunch of nerd stuff. And of course, I like to talk about black representation and queer representation. So if that's something that you're interested in, if you think representation matters, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, become one of my Safe Gayveneers, and then also like, share, comment, interact on this video for the all gay rhythm. Now, with that said, guys, we are here for one of the most highly anticipated PlayStation 5 video games to come out from all time, and especially this year, and that is the Insomniac's Spider-Man 2. I didn't review the first Spider-Man game because I believe that came out in 2018, and I didn't have a YouTube channel back then, funny enough, because my YouTube channel came out in 2019, but I did review the Miles Morales Spider-Man game, so you could click the link up here if you didn't see my review for that. So after having played both video games, I absolutely loved both games. I platinumed both games, and so I could not wait until they released Spider-Man 2. Like, I got that game day one. Like, I was waiting for it to download at midnight on, I can't remember the date, the 20th, October 20th, and I started playing it immediately. Like, I took a hibernation because I was so immersed in Baldur's Gate, and honestly, I haven't touched Baldur's Gate since Spider-Man came out. Granted, I'm gonna go back and play Baldur's Gate because I'm obsessed with that game as well, but I had to jump into Spider-Man 2. But anyway, let's talk about Spider-Man 2 and the story and synopsis of this particular game so far. Taking place 1 year after the first Spider-Man game and 10 months after the Miles Morales Spider-Man game, both Peter and Miles are roaming the streets of New York and protecting the streets of New York as the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. And eventually they come across a villain known as Kraven the Hunter, who has come to town wanting to hunt and take down a bunch of New York supervillains. So Peter and Miles find themselves protecting their once former enemies, and eventually Peter comes across a symbiote suit, a black symbiote suit, that makes him the not so friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. And other stuff happens, but that's the gist of the storyline so far. And for the most part, if you've seen Spider-Man 3 with Tobey Maguire, you watched the 90s Spider-Man cartoon, Spectacular Spider-Man, virtually any incarnation of Spider-Man, you're gonna see the story of the black symbiote suit and eventually the creation of Venom, because it is a very popular Spider-Man story. So it's always going to be done time and time again. Almost kind of like how whenever you see an X-Men adaptation, you're gonna see an adaptation of the Dark Phoenix saga, but it's always weird, especially when it comes to live action, because they never do the Phoenix saga. They jump straight to the Dark Phoenix saga. The Dark Phoenix saga means nothing without the Phoenix. Anyway, let me not go on a rant about X-Men, but with that said, I freaking loved this game. Honestly, this is probably, I will go down, say, as of right now, this will go down as being the best Spider-Man game. And it's not to say that Spider-Man has a lot of bangers, but at the same time, Spider-Man has some pretty good games that have come out throughout their gaming history. Like, I think about the Spider-Man game that was out for like Genesis. I don't remember the name of it. Or you think of Spider-Man 2, which is the game that birthed the way we do modern day web swinging in video games. And it was really the first open world Spider-Man video game. You think about, what was it? Ultimate Spider-Man, Shattered Dimensions, even like Spider-Man Web of Shadows. Like, those games were some bangers, which funny enough, this game definitely has some nods and not references, but yeah, nods and references to the Spider-Man Web of Shadows game. But this game was fun, like, especially the most important thing about a Spider-Man game. You think about the traversal, you think about web swinging around New York, and then the thing about this game that makes it better and more fun and more interesting and different than all the other Spider-Man games is you're not just relegated to swinging around New York City, Manhattan, but this is the biggest Spider-Man game in that you're able to travel and move through Queens. You're able to travel and move through Brooklyn. So you're able to go to Aunt May's house because you know Spider-Man was born and raised and grew up in Queens. You're able to go to Miles' school, Brooklyn Visions. And part of the way that you're able to do that, you can either swing through the Manhattan Bridge or the Williamsburg Bridge to get to Brooklyn or Queens, but you're also able to use the new traversal method, the web wings. And I thought it was incredibly fun gliding through the city of New York on the web wings. And there are certain parts in the city where you like hit a jet stream that like speeds up your traversal on the web wings. And while I was not swinging, but gliding through the city of New York, I was just like, man, we're getting a Superman game in Spider-Man before we actually get a decent flying through open world Metropolis Superman game. So I'm just like, Warner Brothers, what are y'all doing? Give me a Superman game where I can have an open world and fly through not just Metropolis, but fly into space and look out into the space if I want to. Like, give me a Superman game. But anyway, I'm not here to talk about Superman game. But honestly, like, I would come down and say, like, not only is this the best Spider-Man game, but between Arkham and the Insomniac Spider-Man games, like, those are the gold standard with regards to superhero games. I can't say which one I like more because Arkham is a complete trilogy, and I'm not sure if they're gonna do another Miles Morales game, and then we're gonna get Spider-Man 3, but we know that there's another Spider-Man game coming. So because it's not done, I can't fully rate it, but regardless, those two are the gold standard, and I want more superhero games like it. Give me a Daredevil game, a Black Widow spy game, a Thor game, Blade, Black Panther, etc., etc. And with regards to, as far as I know, this will be the first incarnation in video games of seeing Kraven the Hunter, and I really enjoyed the storyline and the way they developed Kraven in this video game. And honestly, it kind of makes me sad and nervous about the live action Sony version of Kraven the Hunter, because I have a feeling it's going to be garbage. And then you compare it to this, especially considering it's also Sony Studios. And it kind of makes me wonder, not just with Sony, but I feel the same way about Warner Brothers and DC, and then also with all the Marvel news that have come out. Why don't they hire these video game and comic book writers to help craft their live action movies, especially when you think about how cinematic video games tend to be nowadays? Like, that's why the live action adaptation of The Last of Us worked so well, because they got Neil Druckmann to do and be a huge part of the live action version of The Last of Us. Now, you can argue, especially if you played the game, that they're literally just redoing the game over again, but that's great because the game was so cinematic. And then also, when you think about it, really, realistically speaking, the live action version of The Last of Us isn't for us that played the game. It's for the people that have never played the game before. And then just the gamers they want to please the gamers, but they're really not here for us, because if it was just the gamers watching the show, it wouldn't be as highly rated as it currently is. So it's not for us. But it was so good that even if you played the game, there's still enough difference and still enough things that are interesting that makes you enjoy it. And I feel the same way about, like, even with this game, like, even if you're a comic book reader, you know the story of Venom and Kraven the Last Hunt and all of that stuff. Like, there are still beats and Easter eggs and moments that you find familiar, but at the same time, it's different enough that you find the differences interesting. And it's not so different and so out there and so jarring in terms of like making it different that you're just like, this is stupid. But no, I enjoyed the storyline with this game. Now, with that said, being that, because most of these storylines follow strictly Peter Parker, whether it's Kraven's Last Hunt or the story of the Black Symbiote, but now you're interweaving Miles into the narrative. I felt like the way they introduced and interwove Miles in the storyline was very interesting with regards to Peter's particular storyline. Now, with that said, I do feel like the game did a good job of trying to separate both Miles and Peter and differentiating them as their own Spider-Man, because it's not just Miles Morales and Spider-Man. No, Peter is called Spider-Man in the games, and Miles is called Spider-Man in the games, and they both call each other Spider-Man in the games. But at the same time, you can kind of tell that the games kind of treat one as Spider-Man and the other as Miles Morales Spider-Man, because when it came to Miles' solo missions, they weren't all that compelling. I get what they were trying to do, and there were some moments that were interesting because they injected some level of like Black history and Black music history. Specifically, like you had a moment where you learn about like Hazel Johnson. Is that her name? Hazel Scott, the Black prodigy pianist. And they talk about Langston Hughes and all the other stuff, things that you won't necessarily get in video games. And I always say representation matters and representation equals normalization. So it's things that you don't necessarily get in video games, but like that was some of his most compelling storylines, or like helping people like in his school, basically doing the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man stuff while Peter Parker is doing the world-ending stuff. And I get, you know, that this is more Peter's game than it is Miles' game, but I do still wish some of Miles' side quests and missions were more important and more relevant to the storyline. But with that said, I do appreciate the level of representation that they had in this game, because there was moments where you would save some NPCs from like a villain attack, and the guy would be like there would be a guy, he'd be like, my boyfriend is a fan of yours. Now granted, it's a throwaway moment, a blink and you'll miss it moment, but I still appreciate that it was in there, because again, representation matters and representation equals normalization. I just want them to finally have a main video game where the protagonist is queer, lesbian, gay, trans, and not just NPCs or side characters or blink and you'll miss it moments. So I'm just like, because you see the return of Harry Osborn in this game, and I'm not going to do like spoilers in terms of the game review, but you see Harry Osborn in the game, and I'm just like, there should have been a moment that they said Peter and Harry Osborn like messed around with each other. When they, in their youth, Bider-Man does whatever a Bider character man does, whatever. I don't know, I messed that up. But yeah, overall, I really enjoyed the storyline. I really enjoyed the game, and I really like the new suits that they gave for both Peter and Miles. Like honestly, my favorite suit for Peter Parker is there's this like Scarlet Spider 3 suit. He has this like white suit that is from the comics that's like a crossover between him and Moon Knight. Like what if Spider-Man and Moon Knight merged together? And then there's another suit of him in like blue that reminds me of my very first cosplay when I was a Blue Lantern Spider-Man. And so I really love the way that costume looks. There's Miles suits that I really enjoy, of like him in like a cape, giving like a very Assassin's Creed vibe, or him in like this black symbiote Dracula like suit and things like I really like the suits. I was just disappointed that there was no naked Spider-Man suit. But overall, like I really enjoyed this game. My only biggest criticism and thing that I disliked about the game is, like I said, I thought the Miles side quests weren't all that compelling. And then honestly, I feel like this game was too short. Like I feel like the first Spider-Man game that came out in 2018 was longer. I feel like this game was probably just as long as the Miles Morales game. And that game basically felt like, it was basically DLC. So it wasn't as long as the Spider-Man game, and I feel like that was the same with this. And I did all the side quests and extra missions and all that other stuff, and I still felt like this game was pretty short. So I do wish it was a little bit longer, but with what I got, I really enjoyed this game. I definitely would love to play it again, and I can't wait to see another game and installment in the Spider-Man PS5 franchise. And I hope this opens the door for more not Spider-Man games, but more Marvel games. But with that said, have you guys played Spider-Man 3? What did you think about Spider-Man 3? Let me know all of your, or why am I saying Spider-Man 3? Spider-Man 2, let me know all of your thoughts in the comment section below. Also, if you can, hit that thumbs up button and like this video to really help out with the channel and the algorithm. And if this is one of your first time checking out one of my videos, please check out the other videos on my channel. If you like what you see, please subscribe for more and hit that bell notification button so you're alerted every single time I post a new video, and tell your friends, families, and neighbors about my channel to help me continue to grow. And as always, I will catch you guys next time.